Hey kids, welcome to Stylus Rumble's short film project. Ta-da! I've announced on Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, all those places that I'm going to do a short film. Woo! So this video, I'm just going to warn you up front, is me talking about my organizational process and how I'm going to get started on this. So I'm not really doing any drawing yet. I just want to talk a little bit about getting things organized and my initial process for it. So if you guys find that super boring, like run, just run away. There'll be no more drawing next video, I promise. But before you run away, I'm curious how many people are interested in watching live streaming on Twitch. Because people are all into the Twitch nowadays. And I'm going to be working on a lot of these layouts, and I'm going to be rigging a character. Let me just menu. So this is my first design. She might change a lot as I go through and play around with it, but I'm going to be rigging a fairly complex character. If anybody's interested in me streaming the actual process of rigging that character, let me know. Stuff like that. So I'm on the fence about Twitch, but if there's a lot of people here that are really interested in that kind of thing, it would be probably Monday nights, Wednesday nights, if I'm just like first guess. I don't know if it'll be 100% of the time. I'm not sure. It's just something I'm playing with, and I want to get your thoughts on that. I'm scared to do it live. I can't edit. Do you know how many takes it takes me to say Stylus Rumble in the first thing? A lot. So let me know what you think about that. So now I'm just going to cut to where I start rambling about spreadsheets. So if you're interested in organizational stuff and you want to hear about the story that the short is about, then by all means stay tuned. And if not, hope you guys don't just unsubscribe immediately when you hear this. But that's my plan. I made a plan. I told you I would. So years ago, I did a short film for college, and it turned out very badly. I've been looking for a copy of it. I found one DVD that had it on there, but it was cracked. So I'm going to keep looking and see if I can find another copy somewhere. I had a bunch, so hopefully I will find it, and you guys will get to see the terrible short film that I did. The program I was in, because sometimes you see short films that come out of like Sheridan, but they have a whole year to do their project, and a lot of times there are multiple people working on the project. Our school, we had 6 weeks to do everything: boards, rig the characters, do the whole film, and I was way too ambitious. Me and my sister came up with this story about a fairy and a monster, and it's really cute. So I'm going to remake it. So you know how you do, like, draw this again? Well, I'm going to film this again, animate this again, I guess. So I have to find a copy of it so that I can compare, because it's super bad. I haven't put it anywhere online because it's so bad. We're going to redo it. So that's my plan. I'm putting it out into the internet so that you can hold me accountable and be like, hey, Tracy, you said you're going to redo this. So what's up? Where's your progress? Come on, let's see some thumbnails or something. So tonight, what I've done is I've written out the whole story, and I did it in like 10 minutes, so it's like the worst writing ever. So if you're a writer, you're gonna be like, oh my god, Tracy, this is the worst. But I'll summarize it for you. It's a fairy in the woods, and I'll show you my drawings of the wood. If you guys follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you've seen some of this stuff. But so this fairy in the woods, and she's flying around. She's like, oh, I'm so hungry. And she sees this fruit. So she flies towards the fruit, and this bird is going to come out and be like, ah, and like steal the fruit. And she's like, oh no, I wanted that. She's sad and dejected and flying around. She smells something really great. So she follows the smell into this cave. And in the original, it was a dragon was in the cave. But I think I want to do some sort of a rock creature or a tree monster or something like covered in moss. So we're going to do some character development with that. It's gonna be super fun. So she goes in this cave, and there's this dude making the soup, and she says, oh hey, Mr. Monster, can I have some soup? And he's like, meh, meh, meh. And she's like, I could be super helpful, like I'll go get you stuff. He grabs a book and he shows her a picture of a flower. He's like, go get this flower and bring it back to me, and if you do that, I'll give you some soup. So she's like, great, I can do that. So she flies up, and various happenstances make it difficult for her to get this flower. And then when she reaches it, the flower's huge. It's like twice as big as she is. So she has to cut it down and drag it back. Basically, like it falls through the forest, and she drags it along the ground a bunch because it's so heavy. And she finally gets it back to the monster, and she's like, look, I brought you this flower. And the last petal just kind of like falls off. And the dragon's like, oh, monster, whatever I decide to go with. It's like, and he takes it. So then it's the ending, and I won't give away the ending, but she totally messed up this flower deal. So we'll get to the end once we get to storyboards or something like that. But that's the the main gist, okay? And so I started doing some rough layouts of just like what the forest is going to look like. And I started with kind of a tropical forest, but then I was like, Tracy, you don't know what tropical forest looks like. You saw one once for like 3 days and it was from a car. So like, calm down. Where I'm from, pine trees have a hard time holding on to little craggly rock in the windswept North Atlantic, okay? So I'm not great with the tropical forest, so it ended up being more like an enchanted forest, something so I can maybe go out and do some life drawing here in Ontario and see some stuff that looks a little bit more like this. And I'm going to go through layouts and stuff like that along the way. And my plan is basically, I'm not going to bombard you guys with 100% short film because parts of it are just going to be labor intensive. But whenever I hit a patch, like right now, tonight, I've already been talking for 5 minutes, but my plan is to talk a little bit about organizing and my overall plan for this short film because I'm for serious this time. Okay, so what I'll do is when I have something, so I'm starting with kind of rough visual development stuff and storyboards so that they can kind of go hand in hand. So once I have storyboards, I haven't told Simon this. He probably is going to see it on here, but I'm going to be like, hey, Simon, how about you come back and do a live critique of my storyboards? What? That would be great. And if I'm doing layouts, I could message some of my layout friends and background design friends and see if any of those guys want to get online and do some live critiquing of my backgrounds, or even just have a chat about backgrounds, their life in background design and layout and stuff like that. Since I've done a little bit of freelance background design, but I've never done production design. I've never been a full-time layout or background artist in a studio. Whenever I hit a rough patch, I'm just going to go find people and share whatever, whenever they're willing to share, I'll share that with you. In between that, I'll still throw in the odd tutorial, and whenever I find something that I find is going to be particularly good for a tutorial, especially once I start getting in the animation of this, but that's kind of a long-term thing, whenever I hit a patch where I'm like, oh, this would be a great time to turn this into a tutorial, I'll do that along the way. So tonight, like you said, like 7 minutes in, we're going to talk about organizing, getting started, like, because I've done this in the past where I'm like, oh, I want to do this massive project. I kind of cut off more than I can chew, and I don't really think about it in chunks. So what I'm going to do is take this big project, because it's only, I'm guessing it's going to be between 2 and 4 minutes long. It's not going to be the longest thing ever. And here's so what I did was I just wrote out kind of a jot note version. I mean, you could pause it and save, you could read it if you really felt like it. But then I took that and I wrote down like what are the questions I have? What are the things that I absolutely need help on? For me, that's music and voice talent, stuff like that. That's something I've never done. I do have a cousin who's an actor, so I'm gonna call her up, be like, hey cuz, how about for a bottle of Jack and some good-natured humor, you like hang out with me and we can talk about how to get this done, maybe get a family discount on some voice acting. Maybe she has a friend. So I'm gonna start with there and see if she can help me get started on that, because she's into musical theater and things like that. So maybe she has some advice. Or I'll reach out to people, I'll get on some Reddit forums and I'll see what I can do about that. So that's my biggest unknown, is the music and scoring, stuff like that. And even just finding out an estimate on how much that would cost to get done by someone who knows what they're doing, that would be great. So the next thing, storyboards, I'm going to break it up into 5 pieces instead of just thinking of it as a huge piece, because I don't have Storyboard Pro, which would be my go-to boarding software, but I'm cheap and I don't want to pay the price. So if Toomboom's out there, because I know you guys have watched me in the past, if you want to send me Storyboard Pro, I'm totally fine with that. If that doesn't pan out, I have been playing with Storyboarder, the free storyboard software going around. But the real killer for me is it doesn't do animated pans. And as you can see from my single drawing, I like a pan. I'm a big pan fan. So Storyboarder might not be for me. Failing a better boarding program falling into my lap for free, I'm thinking I might do chunks of it in Toomboom and then composite it together or edit it together in Camtasia, because that's what I use to do my film stuff. And then, so this is my rough layout of the board. So I'm going to break it into 5 pieces. Characters, I have the fairy, the monster, and then the bird, which in my mind right now is a crow, but that might change as I go through my VizDev process. It might be a different kind of bird, but bird. So those are the 3 characters. I do want to populate the forest a little bit with maybe some bugs or lizards or snakes. I'm not sure, and I might add some additional problems for her to come across along the way, like maybe there's a snake in the tree. She's like, oh no, but we'll work that out in the boards. But these are my main characters from now. fairy monster and the crow. My background designs, again, I'm going to break it up into 3 places. So the forest, the cave where the monster lives, and then the treetops, because the flower is up in the treetops. And I don't know if I want the forest to seem a little less friendly when she's dragging it back. I don't think, maybe we can do that compositing. But I broke down like what are the 3 major pieces that I want to play around with in terms of color and texture and stuff like that. The cave that the monster lives in, he's a sentient creature. He's cooking in a pot, so he has books in there, and he has lots of knickknacks and stuff. So I want the cave to be like a treasure trove for this creature, so that can be super fun to play around with. And then the various props we need, flowers, cauldrons, soup bowl, stuff like that. And then effects, because I don't neglect my effects like every other project I've ever worked on does. So that's where I've gotten so far. I've just taken this story and made a list of each of the major, so we've got storyboards, characters, background design, props, effects. As we get more further into boards, I'm gonna have to look at layout. So as opposed to the background design, we're gonna have to look at each background for each shot and make sure that we have the necessary assets for that. Okay, and then we can look into compositing and stuff later. What I do next is I'm just gonna move this off to the side so that I have my screen available, because I'm using my second screen over here to hold all those words. So I'm opened up Google Docs. And if you aren't familiar with Google Docs, get on there. It's so good. We're going to come down. So over here in our little dealie, I'm going to grab a spreadsheet. You can, like this is Open Office, which is like all my text stuff is in Open Office. It's a free text editing software. It does have stuff like spreadsheets and all that fancy stuff. So if you don't have word processor, Open Office is the best one I can suggest. We're going to create a new spreadsheet. Beautiful. I love it. Generally, I'm working, like, I'm the effects lead on a television show. So I'll have the scene number here, and we'll get into actual scenes and what they need in the future. But right now we're just working on our overall, let's say, our basics sheet. So, but I'd start with scene number, then the type of effect it was, any notes I have about that effect, like I need to talk to the design team to make sure I have this prop, or check for reuse because I've done something similar in the past, see if I could reuse something like that. And then status, so whether it's done, whether 3D has taken it on and I don't need to worry about it anymore, whether animation has done a good job and I don't need to do something. Sometimes they'll do cloth effects on their own. Sometimes I need to do cloth effects, depends on the animator. So I can keep track of everything myself. I have my own little, and I even color code everything. So we know exactly what's happening. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to take everything that I just said and I'm going to create a little section for it because I want something that's nice and interactive. So I'll take the top 4 here and I'm going to just create a bar across the top. So I'm just going to highlight this stuff here. We're going to format and we're going to merge cells. So if you aren't familiar with any sort of spreadsheets, you've never done anything like this before, I highly recommend getting into it. It doesn't take a huge amount of time to get started. It's fairly intuitive in general, but it's a huge advantage if you're keeping track of a ton of information. So we're going to align to the center so that our stuff is in the center. And we're going to say storyboards. I'm going to copy this. I'm just going to paste it down here. And I'm going to create characters. And we can bold this stuff, scale it up. Very bold looking backgrounds. I can zoom this in a little bit so you can see. So I'm just going to format it a little bit, make it nice, and you can put a big square around your titles using this guy here. So now I'm just typing everything in here that I have already. And I'm going to be able to, I can make like if I can bring these guys down here. So I could write like low part. So I have part intro cave, blah, 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 blah. And notes. Our intro cave, searching, returning end. So I've just taken everything I had before and I put it into a spreadsheet. And you might be asking yourself, why would you do that? Why not just keep your other list? But now I can have notes associated with each part. I can have the status. How is this done? Is this in progress? Do I need to phone a friend? So all of that stuff is here. I have a leftover one because there's no scene numbers, which is usually my 4th column. And I just made 4 columns out of habit, but that's fine. I might add something here later. Anything that might come up, I can throw here at the end. So this is where I'm going to start organization-wise. Once I have scenes, I can have scene 1. So let's say I actually get all of the assets done and I start populating the scenes. So we're going to need more columns here. So I'm going to have scene set up. So that's just populating all the assets, making sure they're in there. We can put posing as our next one, making sure each shot has its characters and stuff posed out and the timing is getting underway, stuff like that. We can have animated, effects, and comp. 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and then however many scenes we have, they're all lined up here. We have whether they're set up, and then, I mean, you don't need these big columns. You can just set this to like started. So if this is started, let's turn it yellow, right? So we'll make a little chart over here. So started, scene is started, but not finished. Done. Revision, because we're going to be giving ourselves revision. And now we'll just color code those. Boop. Make them super neon. I feel like that might burn out our eyes. Let's use some chill colors. Let's calm down. All right, so now we have started, we have done, and we have revision. We can change colors if we need to, but it's just so we can tell ourselves where we are in each piece. So at the beginning of the day, we'd say to ourselves, okay, I'm going to set up scenes 1 to 4, and then if you succeed in 1 to 3, you can say that those are done. And then on scene 4, you're going to tell yourself that it's started. It's not finished, but it's started. So that way, the next time you come in and you sit down, you can say, okay, I'm in a position to pose these scenes. I'm in a position to finish this one or continue down this line. And you always know where everything is sitting and you're never wishy-washy about it. It's set in stone or pixels or whatever this is. So I highly recommend getting into spreadsheets because they're pretty, they're convenient, they're like, I don't even know where to start on how great they are. So I'm going to bring my little chart up here. And because it's on Google Docs, if some of my friends say, or like, oh, I really want to help you with a short film, I can share this with them. They'll be able to see it. I can give them the rights to change anything that's in here, and they can make changes. So when they have a scene assigned, I can even create a color for them. So I'm going to say, okay, Bill is purple. I'm going to assign Bill scenes 2 and 3. So I'm going to color 2 and 3 purple. I've already set them up for him because I'm not a monster. Is that purple? It's purple enough. But now Bill knows that his 2 scenes are here and he's able to do his posing. Green light that. I duplicated my posing. So he can highlight once his posing is done if I want to see his posing, and he can highlight it once it's animated or whether it's started. And I know this, I mean, if you're working on a project with multiple people, this is the best way for everybody to communicate. Otherwise, you might end up doing the same thing as the other person, or you're not clear, or you aren't, like somebody's falling very far behind and they're not telling anybody. If they're not updating things, you can say, oh, hey, how are you doing with things? You haven't updated, and they can say, oh, I'll go update now, or, oh, I'm way behind, you know, I've been kind of slacking and I need someone to come give me a good smack. Okay, so this is where I am. Everything is organized. I know all the things I need to do. Things might change as my boards come along. I might need more characters like bugs or snakes, and I might realize that I want the forest on the way back to be different, so compositing notes. So I'll have to add the forest and then the forest return, and I'll have notes about that, just my thoughts, and that way I won't forget, because I have a habit of drawing on post-it notes and papers and stuff, so that stuff just gets scattered throughout my house, or my toddler will come along with a marker and just color over all my notes. So this is a much better way to keep your stuff organized. You can check it from anywhere because it's on Google. Google is just magical. I love that I have portable spreadsheets. Oh, it's so exciting for a geek. So we've been going on for way too long. I get so excited about spreadsheets and organizing, and I have a plan now, so this is exciting. So let me know what you think. Do you guys hate this? Are you already like, oh, Tracy, like this is the worst? If you do want to see more tutorials on things specifically, just let me know what they are, and when I find time, I'm gonna start keeping track of people's suggestions. Maybe I'll make a spreadsheet right now about suggestions, and then I'll have a list of videos to make in the future. I love a good spreadsheet. Maybe if you guys are a little bit disorganized, this is giving you some ideas of how to better organize your own project. Take your project and just write it all out. Write the whole thing in the simplest kindergarten writing you can, like character walks to the bank is locked. Stuff like that. And then just by having that overview, you can say, okay, well, I need a bank. I need somewhere for him to walk to the bank. So I just need a pan with a bank at the end. The bank needs a big old lock on it because I want that to be really clear. The bank needs to have some eaves troughing so that he can climb, stuff like that, or a scaffold because it's under construction. You can climb that, something. Just by writing out everything, you have a better idea of all the things you need to make. And then you can sit down and have a plan and be like, okay, tomorrow I'm going to work on rough boards, or tomorrow I'm going to work on background design. And if you're like, oh, I really don't want to do background design, well, at least you have a list now. You're like, props. Well, oh, I need wands and I need flour and stuff like that. So you have a huge list of things you can work on, and you're never caught in a rut, a block, because you have so much stuff just in a list, and you can mark it off, and then you get a nice sticker, like okay, that's it. Spreadsheets are grown-up stickers. You get to highlight stuff as you finish it. Wow, I made myself a star chart. Way to go, Tracy. So I'm gonna go away. If you guys feel really ripped off that this is just spreadsheets and me talking, let me know. And I feel really bad about it. If my subscribers drop by like 200, I'll know that you guys aren't into it. But I'm really excited about this project. So I think this is what I'm going to do next. Yeah. So I'm going to go away for real this time. Like, share, subscribe, all those things internet people ask you to do. And I'll see you with more things. Yeah, we have a plan.